What's up everyone and welcome to the club. In today's video I'll show you 3 simple ways on how to draw anime style eyes. For today's lesson we'll need some plain white paper and a pencil. I'll be drawing with this 0.7mm mechanical pencil with a 2B graphite stick. So in this tutorial I'll be drawing my top 3 female characters, but before we do that I want to set up my page with some guidelines. Let's start at the very top in the center. We're just going to lightly work our way down the middle, coming down towards us with these short lines. And this will be the center of each eye. Now we're going to be stacking 3 eyes on top of each other. So let's start at the very top. We're just going to draw a line going across from left to right. And we just want to space this out on our page. Let's move down to the center and draw another line. And then we'll add another line down here of equal distance from the center. Now I want to start each of these eyes with a circle. So along the top, we're just going to move up towards the top. Mark off the top of our circle, measure that distance from the center down towards the bottom and do the same thing. And then we'll repeat that across this horizontal line. So measuring the distance from the center over towards the left and then the right. Now I want to make all 3 eyes roughly the same size. So I want to take that same distance from left to right along the bottom. Just going to mark this off. Now you want to connect these 2 points with a straight line. So we're going to start by going up towards the top and come all the way down. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, we're just using this as a guide, just to make each eye approximately the same size. Let's add those 2 same marks across the bottom 2 eyes. So we're going to move up right about here, do the same thing across the bottom. And then let's go all the way back up to the top. We're going to connect the center point of each mark with a curve to create our circle. And again, this circle doesn't have to be perfect, we're just using this as a guide. And we can always come back and smooth that out. Just want to get the right size and placement. Do the same thing in the middle eye. And then the bottom. Now that we set up the base for each of these eyes, we're going to move up to the top. Now this eye we're going to turn into Makima from Chainsaw Man. We want to bring the eyelid down. So from the top of our circle, let's step down, draw a straight line going all the way across from left to right. And then along the bottom, we want to bring the lower eyelid down, lower. So right about here, it's going to go across from left to right. Now the basic shape of her eye is basically a parallelogram, which is a rectangle shifted over towards the top right. So from here, we're going to move all the way over to right about here. It's going to angle the eye, coming down and then in towards the bottom line. Let's move over towards the left where the circle meets the eyelid, angle this down and out with that same line. Now that we have the basic shape of the eye, I just want to go back and just clean this up by erasing some of these guidelines. So take out the top of the circle, along the side of the eye and the bottom. Now I'm going to be using this rough sketch as a guide to help us modify the shape and add some more details. Let's start by rounding out the top left side of the eye. So we're going to bring the eyelid going up and across. Now on the right, we just want to bend this down towards the end. Let's go back. Just going to angle this down towards the inside of the eye. Now I want to create that same curve on top. So we're going to step up, just going to add a fold going across the top of the eye. And then we want to bring that down towards the end. Now we also want to round out the bottom right side of the eye. So we're going to start from the end, we're going to come down. Now we want to round out the bottom and then bend that in. We just want to fade that out towards the center. And then on the inside, we just want to lightly round out the tear duct. Come in and then bend that down. Let's add a curve along the inside of the tear duct and tuck that up underneath. Now this character has some thick eyelashes, so we're going to start on the end. Just going to angle this up and then out. Let's come across. Now we want to taper the eyelash coming down towards the inside of the eye. Right about there. Let's add some thickness to the outside of the eye, coming down and then in. Let's add another fold along the top of the eye. We're going to step up, going up, across, and then down. And then we'll go back and add those rings inside the pupil. So right in the center, draw a small circle. We're just going to lightly shade that in. And we're going to add 2 more rings along the outside. So we're going to move out, draw a slightly larger circle. Just going to rough this in. And then in between the outside of the iris, just going to add 1 more ring. Let's go back and do one final cleanup of our drawing before I add more details. Now once we're happy with the general shape of our eye, we're going to go in and darken up our contours and add a little bit more detail. Let's start with the inside edge of the eyelid. Just want to taper this down towards the inside, towards the tear duct, and then work our way across along the bottom edge of the eyelid and go out. Let's go back, just adding a little bit more shape and thickness. Go all the way across, and then on the end we're just going to pull this up and then round out the side, coming back in. It's going to work our way around the bottom of the eyelid. Just going to round out the top, curve the bottom, and just bring that in towards the bottom of the eye. Let's go back and just add some thickness along the outside. Pull that in. Now down here, it's going to lightly shade that in. And then we'll darken up the top. I'm going to add that fold along the top of the eye. I'm just going to taper that out and just fade that out across. And we'll draw in that top fold. We want to add some thickness in the center and taper that out towards the ends. So it almost looks like a heavier shadow in the center of that fold. Now we're going to layer in those eyelashes on top of the eyelid. So we're going to start from the inside, just going to bend this out and up, taper that back down, and it's going to work our way across, just adding a few thick eyelashes. And it's okay if we overlap that fold. Just add a couple more going out. And I want to go back and just darken them up along the bottom and then fade that up towards the tips. Now with the bottom, we're just going to add some thin lashes, and we're just adding these little points. So it's curving the bottom, going out, going up, and just tapering that out towards the point. We just want to add a few, not too many, going across, and lightly shade in the inside. Now we're going to go in and just darken up the top of the iris. So we're going to add some thick lines along the top, and then taper that down towards a thinner line along the bottom. So again, just adding a little bit more weight in the shadow areas. We're just going to smooth out our circle, going across towards the bottom. Now let's darken up the center of the pupil. And working our way around the rings. And again, we can just darken up the tops, just to add a little bit more weight. And then fade that down towards the bottom, towards a highlight. Do the same thing across the top ring. And now we're going to go in and add a layer of shadows. Now the eyelid's going to cast a shadow across the whites of the eyes. So we're going to step down, bend this out and then down with a light line and a curve going around, and go in with the side edge of a pencil and just darken that up with a light shade. And then along the bottom of the eye, we're going to add a curve going up towards the pupil and then back down along the side. And this area is where the highlight's going to sit. So we're going to go back up to the top. We want to darken up the top starting on the outside ring, and then fade that down towards that highlight. Now we're going to work our way around the outside, and fade that down, and then that inside ring. Now let's go back and just darken up the top. towards the bottom. And I'm just going to add a light shadow across the top of the eyelid. And now that we completed eye number 1, let's move on to eye number 2. My second favorite female anime eye is Mikasa Ackerman from Attack on Titan. So we're going to set this eye up similar to what we did along the top. So from the top of our circle, we're just going to bring the eyelid down. So we're going to come down a little bit lower, draw a straight line going all the way across. And then along the bottom, we're just going to go up slightly, bring the lower eyelid on top of the bottom of the iris. And then we're going to add that same parallelogram shape around the eye. So from the top, right where the circle meets the eye line, I'm just going to angle this down and out towards the bottom. Now I'm going to go all the way out towards the side, angle this down and then in, right towards the bottom of the eye. Let's go back and just clean this up, just erasing the top of the eye and those lines along the side. Now that we have this clean setup, let's go in and modify the shape. We're going to start with the top of the eyelid. Starting from the outside, I'm just going to bend this up, just taking out that sharp corner, pulling this up towards the top of the iris. And we're just going to give this a slight bend down towards the right, towards the outside. Let's round this out. I'm just going to round out the bottom, coming down, and then curving the bottom right corner in towards the eye. Now let's go back, draw a straight line coming down towards the tear duct. I'm going to round this out and pull this in. Let's add a fold on the left side of the eye. So we're going to start from the top, bend this across, and then down. And we'll add another fold, stepping up, going up, across. And I want to bring this all the way down towards the outside of the eyelid. Now I want to thicken up the upper eyelid, starting from the bottom. I'm just going to taper this so it gets wider as it comes across, go out, and then down towards the side. Let's thicken up the bottom, coming down, and then in. And we'll go back and just fix that outside of our iris, smoothing this out. And then in the center, draw a small circle for the pupil. Just lightly shade that in. Let's go back and clean up our drawing one final time before we add in the details. Now we're going to go and darken up our lines. We're going to start with the top of the eyelid. Just going to darken up the bottom edge, going across the iris, and then down towards the side. Just add that point coming across and down on the left side. Blend that into the eyelid and the lashes going across. And now we're going to go in and just darken up the top. Just going to round up the bottom of the eyelid underneath the iris. Just bend that up towards the side. And we'll darken up that fold. Again, just adding some more weight in the center. And just fading that out towards the side. I'm going to add a few thick lashes across the top. Starting from the center of the eye, just going to bend this out. Just add a couple more, going out towards the side. Now along the bottom, I'm just going to add a few smaller lashes. And these can be very subtle. Darken up the top of the iris, adding a thick line, just adding some weight to the shadow areas, and then bring that down towards the bottom. And do one final cleanup before we add in our shadows. Now inside the eye, we're going to add a curve for the highlight. Just going to lightly work our way around from the center of the pupil, just bending this out and then down towards the side. Now along the top left side, I want to add a small highlight. So we're going to add a small rectangle, just for the basic shape of the highlight. And then we're going to darken up the top of the iris coming in towards that highlight. You just want to feather this out, going around, and we're just going to fade that shadow coming down towards the bottom, towards that highlight area. Go back and just feather out that transition to the highlight area. Also adding a little bit of shadow and glare along the bottom. We're also going to add a shadow across the whites of the eye, just underneath the eyelid, and lightly shade that in. I just want to go and just place the bottom edge of the eyebrow on top. Just add some thickness along the top of the eyebrow. And for the final eye, I chose Nezuko from Demon Slayer. Now the reason I chose this eye is because it has a unique shape and it has a lot of details within. Now we want to transform this circle into an oval. So we're going to pull the sides in. So we're going to start from the top and just lightly sketch this down. Just pulling that in towards the sides. And then in the center, we're going to add a small circle. Now we're going to place the inside of the eye along this line, but on the outside, we want to go out a little bit further. So right about here, it's going to mark this off. Let's go back to the inside. We're going to curve the eyelid. We're going to go up, just up above our oval, come around, and then bring that down towards that outside mark. Let's do the same thing across the bottom. We're just going to bring this down a little bit lower, and then back up. Let's go back and just clean up our drawing, just taking out some of those guidelines. Now that we have the basic shape and proportions of the eye, we're going to start with the top of the eyelid. Let's start from the right side. Just going to bend this out and then up. Let's go back to the inside. We're just going to thicken up the eyelid. We're going to go up towards the top, going up a little bit higher, going around the side, and just bring that down so the eyelash gets thicker on the right side. Let's add a small fold along the left side, just bring this down towards the bottom with a slight curve. Now along the bottom, I'm just going to enhance the bottom edge of the eyelid with a small curve. Let's go back and just darken up the outside of the iris. Go a little bit heavier along the top. Also the center of the pupil. Let's add that fold on top of the eye. We're going to start on the left, bend this up. And I just want to fade that out towards the right. Now right here, we're just going to angle this down towards the inside. Just create a little bit of an overlap. And now we're going to go back and just darken up our contours. Let's start with the inside, going up above the eye, going across, and then bring that down. Just want to bend this in slightly on the bottom of the eye. Let's go back and just darken up the top of the eyelid. Now I'm going to go back and just darken up the inside of the eyelid. Add that fold on the inside, and then that fold on the top. Again, just adding some more weight in the center of that curve, and just tapering it out towards the end. Now on the outside, we're just going to add a little fold for shadow, just tapering in towards a point, darken up the top, and then fade that down. Now we're going to add some lashes curling up from the top. We're going to start right in the middle, just bend this out and up, add some thickness across the base, and just taper that up. Now these lashes are going to get thicker as we go towards the outside. Let's add a thick one right here. And we're gonna add a couple more. Just bending this out and down. Let's add one more on the end. Let's add a few small lashes coming down from the bottom. I want to go back and just clean this up one more time. And now we're going to go in and just darken up the outside of the iris. Again, going heavier along the top, just to give it some weight in the shadow areas. Let's that down toward the bottom. And we'll darken up that center ring. Now I'm going to add a series of highlights going around the eye. So along the top, let's add a small circle. This is the main highlight. We're going to keep this area white. Let's go out to the side and add two small ovals. Just aiming toward the center of the pupil. Add another one on the right. Now along the bottom, I'm just going to add a curved glare. Just going to bend this around and then back in towards the bottom. Let's add one smaller highlight circle. Now I want to go in with the side edge of my pencil and just lightly shade the areas going around those highlights. Lightly shade in the bottom highlight areas. We'll leave the glare empty along the bottom. Let's darken up the bottom of that highlight and just fade that up. Now we're going to go back and just darken up the inside of the iris going around all of the highlights. So we're going to start off dark along the top, and then we want to gradually fade that down. Let's add a shadow going across the center of the eye, coming down from the eyelid. Just going to bend this around, and I'm just going to lightly shade in the top. Let's finish off the final eye with a little bit more shadow, and always be sure to sign our artwork, and that's pretty much it. There's 3 ways on how to draw anime style eyes. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you did, please make sure you subscribe because I'm posting new lessons every single day. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.